Hi there, welcome back to Hydroponics Daily, your go-to podcast for everything soilless cultivation. You may remember a couple of months ago, I did a podcast about why garden centre fertilisers suck and explained the reasons why. Well, I missed one part off because I focused mainly on liquid fertilisers. However, a really big part of the fertiliser offering in many garden centres and retail stores is granular fertilizers, controlled release fertilizers, and explain why these can be bad for your plants and for the environment. So on the face of it, they sound great because they're controlled release. They release the fertilizer slowly when the plant needs it, so temperature related, and rather than being one big gulp of fertilizer that could get washed away, it's released slowly over time. However, the big problem with these controlled release granules is that they don't biodegrade readily. They're not classed as biodegradable. One of the ingredients is vegetable oil, but they use that to sort of say, oh, this is a natural resin. However, that oil is cross-linked to polymer and with synthetic chemicals that turn it into a non-biodegradable plastic, basically. And so I've never used these products in my garden at home, and yet when I dig the soil up, they're there because they don't biodegrade. And there used to be a load of pesticides, blue pesticides that killed black vine weevil, and they got banned. So they've not been used for ages, and yet you still find them next to like rhododendrons when you dig up a rhododendron, a really old rhododendron, because the plastic granules are not biodegradable. And we're finding out more and more about the health impacts of microplastics and nanoplastics in food, and this could be a major contributor. Is the overuse of these granules. People just throw them around. You can also get plugs of them in houseplants. So you might loads of granules stuck together in like a thimble, and you poke them into your houseplants to feed them. So the overuse of microplastics is a big issue now in horticulture. So as I say, we're learning more about the absorption of nanoplastics, and a recent study by the University of Plymouth down on the south coast of England showed that if you grow radishes hydroponically in a solution containing polystyrene nanoparticles that were radio-labeled carbon, after 5 days, they examined how far into the plant the particles had penetrated, finding that nearly 5% of those originally in the solution had been retained in the root system, the part of the plant that you eat. That amounts to millions of nanoplastics entering the crop, and then obviously if they're entering the crop, they're entering your body as well when you eat them. Of those particles, around a quarter had made their way into the edible fleshy roots, while 10% had accumulated in the leaves. So even if you're growing crops where it's the leaves or the flowers that you're eating, the nanoplastics can still move. So that's something to look out for, and it's an area of massive issue. So microplastics are also found in tire wear, flaking paint. So it's not just fertilizers that are the issue here, but certainly it's a big contributor, and people are willingly putting plastic into their soils and in their growing media, and it doesn't need to be the way. You can use alternatives. You can use plastic-free liquid fertilizers, for example. Just use them little and often is always the best way in horticulture. Now, the companies that manufacture these resin-type granules will talk about how, they'll have a spin on it to say that they are, used sparingly, and they advise all this blah, 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 and that their vegetable plant origin and things like this. However, their own internal documents say that they are working actively to work on biodegradable options, and that they're looking to come into line with European Union targets for biodegradable products. And so they fully acknowledge in these internal reports that these products are not biodegradable and that they need to do better. Publicly, on the PR side, they're not saying that these products are microplastics that you're putting into your soil, but no one else is sort of calling them out for it, apart from me. So, make sure you spread the word. The likes of Miracle Grow, Osmocote, their granules are not biodegradable, and you should really avoid them if you don't want to add microplastics to your grow media. Eutrema, we've experimented with some biodegradable granule type products. However, they are quite expensive to produce, and so we don't make products for garden centres because they're always made to a price point which is cheap as chips, and we don't make cheap as chips products. So maybe for like sports turf, we might look at granules there for slow release, controlled release products, fertilizers, where they don't have the ability to spread liquids quickly, but not one for hydroponics and not one for home and garden, certainly. Okay, until tomorrow, thank you very much for listening. And it's a short one today because I'm feeling under the weather, but hopefully we'll be back better than ever tomorrow. Okay, thanks for listening. Goodbye.